At my mother-in-law's birthday dinner, I found my seat set with a paper plate and a plastic fork, right next to the dog's bowl. Just for fun, laughed my wife's brother, Tom, already half a glass into his Chardonnay. I looked at the sad little setup, a pink paper plate, a yellow plastic fork, and a dog bowl still wet from their golden retriever slobber. The whole thing felt like a punchline to a joke I hadn't been told I was in. I blinked and said, "Is this for real?" Tom doubled over, laughing. "Oh man, you should have seen your face," he howled. "Come on, lighten up, it's just a joke." I didn't move. The rest of the family, my wife Emily, her two brothers, their wives, and her mother, all sat around the long oak dining table with polished silverware, matching china, and linen napkins folded like swans. I was on a cheap folding chair. "Yeah, lighten up, bud," one of her brothers mumbled. My wife Emily gave me that sheepish little smile she always uses when her family crosses the line. "It's just Tom being Tom," she muttered like that explained everything. "Seriously?" I asked, scanning their faces. "No one sees a problem with this?" Emily's mother raised her wine glass. "Sweetheart, it's all in good fun. You're just too serious. You know how we do things around here." "You sat me next to the dog," I said slowly. "On a folding chair." Tom chuckled again. "Don't be so dramatic, man." Emily's mom waved it off. "It's harmless. We all tease each other." "Do you?" I snapped. "Because I don't see anyone else eating off Dollar Tree tableware." A dead silence fell over the table. Even the dog stopped slurping. Then I smiled, just a little, and said, "All right, let's keep the fun going." Without breaking eye contact, I reached into my bag and pulled out a sealed envelope. Walked it over to Emily's mother and handed it to her husband. He looked puzzled. "What's this?" "Open it." He peeled it open, read the first line, and his smile vanished. His wife leaned over to look. Tom stopped laughing. Emily stood up. "What is this?" she asked, voice tightening. "That," I said calmly, "is me saying the joke's over." Emily's mom narrowed her eyes. "Is this supposed to be a prank?" "Nope," I said. "It's real. Just like this dinner." I walked back to my seat, the one next to the dog bowl, and picked up the paper plate. Held it up and looked at Tom. "Cute," I said. "But you're gonna want to remember this moment. Because next time you want to play games, make sure you're ready for how they end." And then I dropped the plate. It didn't break. It didn't even bend. Just hit the floor with a soft thud, just like the way they treated me. Weightless, silent, unacknowledged. No one followed me when I walked out. No one said a word. Except the dog. He barked once. As if he agreed. I didn't go home right after. I sat in a gas station parking lot, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. I could still hear Tom's laughter echoing in my ears. Still see Emily's dad go pale when he read that first line in the letter. And the worst part? Emily didn't say a thing. Not when they humiliated me. Not when her brother mocked me. Not even when I walked out. She just sat there. Like she always did. "Babe, you know how my family is," she'd once said after her mother called me a low-class gold digger with no manners during Easter brunch. I'd spend hours cooking a quiche, trying to impress them. I smiled through it. "Just ignore it," she'd shrugged. "That's how they joke." It wasn't. But back then, I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think maybe I was too sensitive. That maybe this was all normal. But the truth? The humiliation didn't start with that paper plate. It started the moment I married into their family. "You're lucky Emily picked you," her mom had said at our engagement dinner, lips curled in a smug smile. We were worried she'd end up with someone who couldn't keep up. I didn't get it at first. I thought she meant socially, maybe financially. I had a stable job, paid my own bills, lived simple, but smart. Emily? Let's just say her career path was flexible. She quit jobs the minute things got hard, always searching for something that feels right. Her family never criticized that. No, Emily was the golden girl. When her car broke down, I paid for the repairs. When her credit tanked after she ignored 3 credit cards, I helped her consolidate. When she wanted to take a break to find her passion, I paid the rent, the groceries, the electric, the everything. At first, it felt like being a good husband. But then it turned into something else. "We all chip in," Tom had told me once. "That's what family does." All chip in? No. I chipped in. Tom didn't pay rent. He worked part-time at most. But he hosted extravagant birthday parties, bought designer shoes, and even hired a personal chef for his dog. And now, they had the nerve to seat me next to that dog's bowl. They weren't even hiding the symbolism anymore. But the truth is, I let it happen. I smiled through it. Told myself it wasn't worth the fight. That maybe, just maybe, they'd come around someday. Then, last month, Emily's mother called me out of the blue. "Sweetheart, Tom's birthday is coming up. I assume you're taking care of the dinner reservation?" I froze. "Excuse me." She chuckled. "It's only fair. You and Emily don't have kids. Tom's got enough on his plate." I nearly dropped the phone. "We've been covering everyone's plate," I said, slow and deliberate. "And I don't just mean dinner plates." She didn't laugh. "Don't be dramatic." And that was the breaking point. That's when I started keeping records. Every Venmo request, every Zelle transfer, every little favor over email or text. All of it. And I wrote the letter. The one I handed to Emily's mother during her birthday dinner. The one that made her husband's face go pale. The one nobody expected. They thought they'd humiliate me like always. They didn't know I'd had enough. When I got home that night, after dropping the paper plate and walking out, I found Emily waiting for me, pacing back and forth in the living room. "What was that?" she snapped. "That," I said, dropping my keys on the table. That was me finally saying no. "To what?" "Family," she fired back. "You embarrassed everyone." "No," I said, cutting her off. "You all embarrassed me. For years. You watched them tear me apart," I said, voice tightening. "You let them humiliate me at every holiday, every dinner, every gathering. And now you're mad because I didn't sit quietly this time." She tried to speak, but I didn't let her. "You know that letter I gave your mother?" I said, lowering my voice. "It outlines every single transaction I've made for your family over the last 4 years. With bank statements. With receipts." Emily's face turned white. I also CC'd our lawyer. Her arms dropped. What does that mean?" "It means I'm done," I said. "And now? You get to choose. Me or them." She didn't come home that night. At 2:07 a.m., I got a text. "I need space. You embarrassed my family. I'm staying at Tom's." The irony. She went to stay with the man who sat me next to the dog bowl. The man whose birthday I unknowingly paid for 3 years in a row. I guess that paper plate broke something after all. And it wasn't plastic. 2 days later, the phone rang. "We want to talk," Emily's mother said. As a family. I almost said no. But then I remembered. I still had one last move to make. Their house smelled like cinnamon candles and denial. Everything in its place, like some Pottery Barn display masking dysfunction. Tom opened the door, grinning in a silk robe like it was a spa retreat. Emily stood behind him with arms crossed. Her mother hovered nearby, clearly rehearsed. Her father sat on the couch holding my letter like it was radioactive. "Nice of you to join us," Tom said, sipping a mimosa. "Now that you've had your little tantrum." I didn't sit down. Instead, I pulled a small USB drive from my jacket and dropped it on the coffee table. "What's that?" Emily's mother snapped. "Something fun," I said. "Since your family loves fun, right?" Emily looked uneasy. "What is it?" I smiled. "It's a full archive, bank transfers, credit card statements, Venmo and Zelle screenshots, and texts from all of you asking me for money. Categorized by who asked what, when, and how often." Tom choked on his drink. "You're bluffing." Her father plugged the USB into his laptop. Silence fell. Then, $3,200 for Tom's Tesla down payment. $2,100 for an emergency vet surgery for a dog that never existed. $900 monthly for Emily's so-called business startup, which never actually launched. And then the twist. Emily's father clicked on a folder titled "Transfers to Outside Accounts." "What is this?" he asked. I didn't flinch. "That," I said, "is the fun part." There it was, clear as day. Transfers made by Tom using Emily's login. The funds went to Maria, her girlfriend in Miami. Rick blinked. "Wait, what?" Tom stood up fast. "Okay, that's not what it looks like. You transferred money from your sister's account," I said coldly, "to a girl named Maria who calls you baby in the notes." Emily looked like she'd been slapped. "You stole from me," she whispered to her brother. Tom's voice cracked. "You always said I could use your savings for emergencies." Emily turned to me. "You knew? I figured it out weeks ago. That's when I started digging. Thought you'd want to know how your perfect brother spends your money." Emily stared at Tom like he was a stranger. Her mother finally exploded. "Enough. This is a private matter." "No," I said, stepping forward. "This is a pattern. First you use me. Then you mock me. Then you humiliate me with a dog bowl. All while stealing from me behind my back." Tom's eyes filled with tears. You're just mad we don't worship you. I stood tall. No. I'm mad that I built your house of lies, and you still called me a loser. Then I turned to Emily. This is your last chance, I said. Choose your family, or choose this. She opened her mouth, closed it, then sat down. Didn't say a word, not even sorry. Something in me went still. All right, I said with a nod. Then I guess I know. I reached into my bag, pulled out a second envelope, placed it on the table. What's this? Her father asked. Divorce papers, I said. Tom gasped. Her mother shrieked. Emily muttered something under her breath, but she didn't move. I spoke to a lawyer the day after your little dinner, I added. Turns out, when your name's on the joint account but mine's on the mortgage, you don't get the house. Tom's jaw dropped. Wait, you're taking the house? Emily's mom stood up, red-faced. That's outrageous. That house was bought with Emily's family money, her mother spat. Was it? I asked calmly. Because I've got receipts that say otherwise. And then, I delivered the final twist. Oh, and by the way, I added, turning to Emily, you might want to check your company laptop. Her eyes widened. What did you do? I forwarded your business expenses to your boss, I said. You know, the ones labeled client lunches that were really spa days with Tom's friends? So today, I called one of Tom's friends, someone I've known since school, just to find out who Tom's dating now, to figure out who he might have sent my money to. But you won't believe it, he told me way more than I asked for. Turns out, Emily was seeing and getting close with two of Tom's friends, and this happened recently. After all these years of marriage, she was unfaithful to me. And every time she went out with them, she dressed to turn heads and flirt with them the whole time. Tom turned on her. You used company money for that? Are you insane? Emily finally stood up. You've ruined everything. No, I said, grabbing my coat. I've just stopped pretending everything's fine. I uncovered your unfaithfulness, and I'm done living with all of this. The lies, the secrets, the double life, I'm not carrying it anymore. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine. I turned to the door, looked over my shoulder, and added. And one more thing. Next time you set a place for me, make it outside. I prefer fresh air to nonsense. And with that, I walked out. No one followed me. Not this time. Emily didn't come home that night. No surprise there. What had surprised me was the silence. No calls. No texts. No apologies. Not even a message after I exposed Tom for siphoning thousands from Emily's account. Not after I dropped the word divorce like a lit match into a house made of gasoline. Instead, at 2:08 a.m., I got a text. I need space. I'm staying at Tom's. You made this ugly. Ugly? No. Ugly was them. What I did. That was clean. I moved out the next morning. I only took what I had bought. My books, my laptop, my grandfather's watch, and my coffee machine. I left the rest behind, including the woman who had watched me burn for 4 years and never once offered a drop of water. And in the end, she finished what was left of us the only way she knew how, with betrayal. She shattered it. Now all that's left is the silence, and the freedom that follows it. I found a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, peeling wallpaper, mismatched tile, a heater that wheezed like an old dog in winter. But it was mine, and it was quiet. The first few days felt like escaping a cult. I ate when I wanted, slept when I wanted. There were no guilt-tripping texts, no icy silences, just oxygen. And then, Tom showed up. He stood outside my door wearing oversized sunglasses and a hoodie like he was hiding from TMZ. In his hand was a manila folder. When I opened the door, his voice was hollow. Emily gave Maria everything, the bank records, the texts, the proof. She traded me for a slice of some new startup deal. Told me I was dead weight. I stared at him. Wait. Maria's your wife? I thought she was your girlfriend. Tom pulled off the sunglasses. His eye was bruised. I told everyone we split. I lied. Now she knows I've been sending her money from Emily's accounts. His voice trembled. She threatened me. And there he was, the golden child of the family, reduced to nothing, standing at my door like a kicked dog. Why come to me? I asked. You hated me. All of you did. He looked down, voice barely above a whisper. Because you were the only one who ever told the truth. And that's when the plan started forming. I didn't trust Tom. Not really. But I didn't need to trust him. I just needed his access. We made a deal. He'd give me everything I needed, emails, screenshots, accounting files. The whole corrupt blueprint of Emily's newest startup scam. In return, I'd keep him protected, legally, publicly. I'd take Emily down without dragging him down with her. Over the next 3 weeks, we burned it all down. Tom gave me access to the back end of her new venture, a slick-looking fintech startup she was about to pitch to investors. And me? I handed it all over. Fake invoices, ghost employees, stolen tax IDs, forged contracts. I sent the whole package to a journalist and filed a tip to the IRS. Anonymously, of course. Then we waited. The fallout came fast. A week later, Emily's name was on the front page. Local startup implodes amid federal investigation. CFO accused of fraud, embezzlement, and tax evasion. There she was on the evening news, being escorted out in handcuffs. Her mother and father were nowhere to be found. Tom had gone completely off-grid. And me? I was drinking hot coffee in a quiet little cafe, the morning sun warming my back, while I read the article on my phone. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel guilt. I felt clarity. I hadn't just escaped a toxic marriage. I'd escaped a marriage where my wife had been unfaithful, where love had long been replaced by lies and betrayal. I'd exposed a system built on lies and entitlement. A few days later, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Tom. "I'm safe. Thank you." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. Some small part of me hoped he learned something. But I wasn't here to save Tom. I wasn't here to save anyone. For the first time in my life, I was saving myself. The funny part? Emily never reached out. Not once. No apology. No denial. Not even a nasty parting shot. But a month after her arrest, I got a call. From her lawyer. "We'd like to negotiate," he said. "I think we can settle this amicably." "Oh, we already did," I replied. The moment she chose Tom over me. The moment she watched me get humiliated and did nothing. In the end, she cheated on me. He hesitated. "Mr. Carter." I hung up. I was done. Done being the dutiful husband. Done being the family wallet. Done pretending I was part of a family that set me next to a dog bowl. I'm not going to pretend there was no infidelity on my wife's side. I'm not going to forgive her for that. She made her choice, and now I'm making mine to walk away from all the lies, the hurt, and the betrayal. They called me cheap. A burden. A joke. Let them. Because now, I was free. Now, they were silent. Broke. Exposed. And me? I was free. Final update. Thank you for the dog bowl. 6 months later, I barely recognize my life. And I mean that in the best possible way. I live in a sunlit apartment now. Real wood floors. A couple of plants I've somehow managed not to kill. A bookshelf I actually have time to read through. My mornings are slow. Filled with black coffee and silence. Not the heavy, uncomfortable silence I used to wake up to. This silence is peaceful. Healing. My own. I got promoted. Made new friends. Even signed up for a pottery class, for no reason at all except that it made me smile. For the first time in years, I'm not reacting to someone else's crisis. Not bending over backwards for guilt. Not tiptoeing around anyone's fragile ego. I'm just living. And not one person from Emily's side has dared reach out. Not Emily. Not her mother. Not even Tom. Until yesterday. I was checking my mailbox when I spotted a pale blue envelope. No return address. I almost tossed it without reading. But something stopped me. Inside was a piece of lined notebook paper, folded carefully. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, but deliberate. You probably won't believe me. But I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for burning it all down. For lighting the match I couldn't. I deserved worse. You gave me a way out. Tom. No phone number. No signature. Just his name. I sat on my front steps for a long time, rereading those words. Not because I forgave him. Not because we were suddenly okay. But because for once, he understood something the rest of them never would. That I didn't walk away to be cruel. I walked away to survive. They called me dramatic. Ungrateful. Difficult. But here's what they never realized. Every time I said yes when I wanted to say no. Every time I gave when I was already empty. Every time I swallowed rage and smiled through it. That was the real damage. And the moment I stopped doing that, they called me the villain. Because I was no longer useful. No longer the one cleaning up their messes. Funding their fantasies. Absorbing their chaos. I wasn't their shield anymore. And that made me dangerous. A few weeks back, I ran into Emily's dad at the grocery store. He looked tired. Smaller than I remembered. His cart was filled with frozen dinners and cheap wine. He stared at me a beat too long. "Didn't expect to see you here," he muttered. I smiled politely. "It's a public store." He didn't return the smile. "You always thought you were better than us," he said. "No," I said, calmly. "I just finally remembered I wasn't worse." He opened his mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to throw one last insult. But then he looked away and pushed his cart toward the checkout. I didn't watch him go. He no longer had that power. Later that evening, I pulled out the envelope I'd handed to him at that birthday dinner. I hadn't read it since that night. But now, for the first time, I unfolded it. The first line still made me smile. Dear family, since you love jokes, here's one. You used me like a credit card, but forgot I could cut you off any time. It ended with, this dinner may be for your mother. But the bill? You've been handing it to me for years. Consider this my final payment. And I meant every word. They thought they destroyed me with that paper plate, with that plastic fork, with that spot next to the dog bowl. But what they didn't realize was, those things lit the fuse. They were so sure I'd always stay, always give, always smile, always clean up after them, always support my unfaithful wife, always let her go on dates with other men, always pretend that she isn't cheating on me. But now, they sit in a house I once paid for, waiting on checks that'll never come. My new life isn't flashy. I don't post about it. I don't talk about cutting off toxic people like it's some kind of trend. I just live, quietly, confidently, on my own terms. And every night when I sit down to dinner, I reach for my best ceramic plate. The one I bought. Real silverware. A linen napkin. I raise my glass, just slightly, and say softly, to the dog bowl. Because once upon a time, they sat me beside it. But now, I eat at the head of my own table. It's been months since I walked away. The fallout has settled. And I'm still standing. Calmer, clearer, lighter. I don't apologize for my boundaries anymore. I don't explain why self-respect isn't selfish. I didn't leave to hurt anyone. I left because I finally realized something simple and powerful. I was allowed to choose peace over performance. Let them tell their version. Let them play the victim. I'm not here to rewrite their story. I'm finally writing mine. And in mine, I'm free. And I'm not coming back.